Well, that was a false start there, Pete. Hi, everybody. I'm Vicki. Right. And wow, that got really quiet. That was a very abrupt stop. So the first order of business is we're deciding which glasses I should wear today. Everybody at home gets to vote. Somebody tell me what they're saying. Are we going black? Or are we going? Let's see
Clear.
All right, I'm going clear for now. I'm gonna switch off. I'm gonna
change it to half.
It's like at the Grammys. I'm gonna have like a different outfit. Yeah. I'm gonna have a different pair of glasses. Oh, there's a book called A New Pair of Glasses. See, everything works so beautifully. A New Pair of Glasses is a recovery book. And it just so happens that yesterday I marked a milestone. I celebrated 19 years off the weed. You have no idea. Well, I'm going to give you an idea of how challenging that was, but it's not my birthday. No, in LA, I got sober in New York. And in New York, we say happy anniversary to someone. And you just say happy anniversary to someone. But this is LA. So in LA, there's a birthday cake and candles, and they sing to you happy birthday, and then everybody applauds. You know, it's because it's LA. But you know, I like the applause, so it's okay. But anyway, this is not my birthday because it took me another 18 months to get sober, because I didn't have a problem with drinking. That was not my issue. I was a pothead, big old pothead, and actually, you know, I'm gonna do it now. So
no, 18 years. Don't do it.
19 years. No, I wasn't going to read right away, but I'm going to read now because this seems like a perfect time to jump. I'm only going to read 2 pages from my book, Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll. And it makes a wonderful holiday gift. Yes, Christmas or Hanukkah. And, you know, and the thing is that this thing I'm going to read now is a little kind of serious. Please tell them it's funny. It's funny, right? No, it's mostly funny. This is not funny at all because this is the.
It's funny and it's juicy.
It is juicy. It has sex. Ooh, good sex. But good sex. Yeah, it had some good sex. I'm having. And I got a birthday
tell us
present.
about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. No, this was my birthday present that I got 3 weeks late, but it was worth waiting for because I got it on a day. Okay. This is what I was going to tell you first. Anyway, it's a key. It's a Tiffany key. It's beautiful. Oh my God. So everything is tangled. What else is new with me? All right, before I get to this, I have to tell you. So I had a health scare this week, some of you know. And you know when you get your boobs squished? And sometimes they don't squish hard enough. Yes. And I got the dreaded call from the doctor. Have you heard from the breast center today? And I hadn't, and it meant that I had to go get retested, and I called them, and they said I was going to have to wait till December. I'm just going to be standing here untangling myself. And I almost lost my mind because patience, I was not born with the patience card. I wasn't dealt that in the deck. So I plead with the one, but nicely. I've learned, one thing that I've learned in recovery is to be a little graceful. Because the old me, the addict me would have been, get me an appointment tomorrow, you know, you bitch, you know, and all. But that doesn't work. But that's what I would have done, but I didn't do that. I was very nice, and I said, oh, please, my thanks. Anyway, I got an appointment within 28 hours. I got retested, everything, but that whole process, which I'm not going to talk about now, I'm going to write a piece about it. It was so scary because you sit there and they don't change their expression. And I'm like, just give me a sign. Just give me a sign that it's okay. And I had just been to Suzanne's memorial on Sunday, and it was 2 days after that. I mean, it was, anyway, it turned out, thank God, good. And I'm calling this year Thanksgiving, Thanks for Giving, because I tend to spend a lot of time in lack, thinking about everything like today. I could focus on the fact of the 24 people that canceled in the last 12 hours. No, look at us, we're fabulous! You out there, there's probably at least tens of you out there. Hundreds of you out there, maybe thousands by the time we're done. This is, you know, so I was looking at also when this thing happened, and I know there are some people in this room There are many people I know that are out there that have gone through these scares. Some people have had to take action. It's a very scary thing, but anyway, you find out when you go through these things, who shows up. And it used to be that I've shown up for a lot of people, but it used to be that I showed up for people. Wait, somebody heard me do this. We showed this in a meeting the other day. I led a meeting. But some people show up. I showed up for some people because it was sort of a quid pro quo. It's like, I'm gonna show up for you, and everything, that was in my addict days. I would do nice things, but I would only do them to see, when I just lost my place. To see what I was going to get out of it. This was very bad that I lost my place. Oh, this is so bad that I lost my place. So anyway, I would do things to see, you get the idea. But what I've learned in recovery is that everybody's doing the best they can. And so last week when I had this issue, and some people that I thought would show up for me, that I show up a lot for people, and I tend to over show up for some people. I was still doing Harry's laundry till last week. So, that's not necessarily a good thing. So, this is going to be so bad if I can't find it. I have it. So anyway, what I learned is that
check the page number. Tell us.
It's called the Upside Down. 263. Thank you. So anyway, I'm all over the place because I lost my jam because I lost my page. But the point is that everybody's doing the best they can. And if I focus on what people don't do and what I don't have, I'm going to get more of that. Yeah. And what I also realized is for all the people that don't do for me, don't show up for me, and I tend to do the heavy lifting in a lot of my relationships. I'm the one who's always picking up the phone. I'm the one who's always saying, let's go do this. A lot of it is my initiation. And I get resentful of that sometimes. And resentments are the poisons I take to kill you. It doesn't work, right? So what I realized last night was, though, that somebody very wise said to me, that for all the people who kind of back out of my life, who don't really show up, who don't really take any initiative, that I have to do all, new people come into my life. And when I think about the people that gift me every day that I take for granted, and so right now I want to thank Pete George, who's back there working with me. He's my renowned Game Changers, and tomorrow night we have Terry Woolman and Lainey Kazan next week. Yay! Yes. One of the greatest drummers of all time is going to be with us in a few weeks. But anyway, so Pete has been like, he shows up, these are not profitable, lucrative things. But we do this because for the love of art, I get to do what I love. He does it with me. It's fantastic. I'm so grateful. Ron Frederick has just said to me when he was here last month for Women Right, and I said, I need people to back up when Pete is gone. He said, I'll do it. And he filled in last week with Crystal Husband, and he's doing pictures today because Linda's not here. Linda, we miss you. But Linda shows up. Linda's been shooting Women Who Write for 10 years. She's missed one Women Who Write before today. One! And Ella, actually, oh my God! Ella has been here also for almost as long. Shows up every month, helps, and wasn't here last month, and I thought I was going to die. It was horrible without you. And Penny Bonet isn't here today. She had stuff she had to do. Penny stays and she cleans. And I have to do it myself today. Michelle will help. But the people that show up, Rick Smolke, who does all of the swag and sponsors my show, and Nicole Venable, who sponsors and does, and Anson, who's my mentor, and Jeremy, who's my life coach, and Suzanne is my therapist, because of course I have a therapist because I'm Jewish. I have a lot of people that do good things for me, and I have a love, and I'm so lucky. So I don't want to focus on the lack. I want to focus on everything wonderful. And one of the most wonderful things that has ever happened to me is I stopped smoking pot. So this is how I did it.
What happened to the key? What's the key story?
Yeah. The key is the key to his heart.
Oh.
He gave me the heart first, and then he gave me the
Oh, I love that.
Oh, he's really sick. He has the flu. Okay. I hope you're feeling better. The upside and down. It's easy for me to blame Holleran and Marty for the damage to our marriage, but in truth, Mary Jane was the bitch that ripped us apart. Soon after the Clinton party, my dad was coming to stay with us for Thanksgiving, as he had every year since he and Roxanne had split. I was stressed. A few years earlier, on one of his holiday visits, when we were still living in Lenny's bachelor apartment, very late one night, long after my dad had gone to bed, we broke out the weed. Before lighting up, we put a towel under the bedroom door, sprayed the hallway with Lysol, and while standing on the radiator, hung ourselves out the open window so we toked on a smokeless pipe. What the hell is a smokeless pipe? There's no smokeless, there's smoke. Feeling right at last, relaxing to some mindless movie on the tube, we were just about to fade off when we heard the bathroom door shut. We only had one bathroom, and you had to pass by our bedroom to get to it. Surely everything was okay. We'd taken every precaution. No way my dad smelled anything. Shaken nonetheless, I had a fitful night's sleep. In the morning, while making coffee, Lenny still asleep, my dad was sitting in the kitchen at the kitchen table waiting for breakfast. I went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, he began. Uh-oh. There was a strong smell. I did what any good addict would do. I blamed Lenny. Dad, this is Lenny's house. He's a grown man, and if he chooses to indulge himself, he owes no explanation to anyone other than perhaps me. I might have convinced my dad, but I didn't fool myself for a second. I felt like the total lying dirtbag that I was for blaming Lenny. Addict. Ugly word. Uglier life. Pot had freed me from myself. When high, I forgot that I was less than, scared and unsure of myself. Marijuana was my great enabler. Under the influence, I could be whatever I wanted to be. Daring, outgoing, and willing. Once I discovered that, I wasn't about to let it go. It took me many years to realize that the pot that initially facilitated my power eventually took it back, leaving me almost paralyzed. I quit smoking grass numerous times over the previous 10 years, when I was pregnant or trying to be, and when I was nursing the kids, but I kept falling back into the same old routine. My smoking didn't have a big dramatic end, externally, but I was dying inside, my self-loathing hitting bottom. I never believed marijuana was addictive, but boy, when I tried to kick it, and I tried a lot. Life had been pretty idyllic for a long time. I loved to smoke and laughed a lot during those years. For Lenny, it was his 5 o'clock cocktail, only he had it at night after work. For me, it was all or nothing. As soon as the kids were in school, I worked out, and then my day of consumption began. A few hits here, a couple hits there, jonesing in between. As controlled and anal as I was about everything, and I do mean everything, pot was the one exception. It controlled me, and I hated myself for it. It was one thing when it was just us, but I felt like such a phony once we were parents. I couldn't look people in the eye. I was constantly brushing my teeth, washing my face, opening windows. It was exhausting. And in truth, I didn't even like being high anymore. It just made me paranoid and complacent. What I loved was smoking, the smoke filling my lungs. Inhale, exhale, relax. It was the ritual, the momentary letting go. The high had long since stopped working. It was time to be a grown-up, not just pretend to be one. And even though I was pretty good at pretending, keeping it together was just becoming too much work. My self-hatred only left me for the moment after the hit. Within seconds, it returned more virulent than ever. I had so many dreams left to fulfill, so many unfinished projects. The more I procrastinated, the bigger the tasks became. And the larger they loomed, the more impossible it became for me to even think about starting them. It wasn't that they were any big deal or anything. It just meant that I had to get off the fucking couch. I considered myself an honest person, but but I hid my addiction from everyone, including myself. Being racked with guilt and shame didn't stop me from pinching pot from my closest friends, if the opportunity arose. Not always, but sometimes. If I received extra change from a cashier, if they neglected to see an item in my cart, I gleefully made hay with it, suffering later from my lack of moral character. I worked hard to convince myself and the world that I was a good person, but in truth, I was a liar, cheater, stealer. I despised myself. I was the mom with the sunglasses on, even on rainy evenings. We had to leave the playground every hour or two so I could refresh my buzz. Our bedroom was my den of iniquity. The door always closed, the windows open. I was pathetic, and I knew it. In sharp contrast, I was extremely attentive, overly so. I didn't let Jack out of my sight for the first 14 months of his life, to both of our detriment. I was continually trying to control everything, my fear on parade. I single-handedly saved the day, every day. Addict thinking at its best. By all appearances, I had it so together. Growing up with a working mom, we were always running out of toilet paper, substituting paper towels, napkins, whatever was around. The cupboards and refrigerator were almost always bare, just the necessities of the day on hand. To compensate or overcompensate, no one in my home ever wanted for anything. There were backups for my backups. Lenny and I owned our apartment and had money in the bank. We had no debt. We had 2 terrific kids. He had a dream job and was well-liked and respected. I volunteered almost full-time fundraising for the kids' public school. Our apartment was immaculate thanks to an undiagnosed case of OCD. Mental illness can serve a purpose. The kids had a loving and structured life. I was organized to a fault with play dates, homework, bills, paperwork, errands, and almost any responsibility except living in reality. Beneath my facade of functionality, I felt shamefully guilty. Mommies aren't supposed to get stoned. Period. With another Thanksgiving approaching and my dad about to visit, I finally decided to just say no. No more Lysol, Visine, hiding in my bedroom, or making excuses to go to the store 30 times a day. Over 40 and a grown-up, it was time to act like one. So the night before my dad arrived, I smoked my last joint. I did it without help or fanfare, also without joy or passion. It was a very undramatic bottom, not nearly as low as many, just the end of the line for this marijuana addict of 30 years. Driven by self-righteous indignation, I never wavered. I also never got a pot card, never went to a pot store, and I've never had a gummy bear with pot in it. Anyway. Huh?
Have a fiber gummy.
Have a fiber gummy. Yeah, I do. I do this vitamin C ones. I do all of them. Anyway, I don't miss it at all. People always say, marijuana addict, happy. Oh, look, she's crying. Look, baby. So, your honesty was so meaningful. I have to read something funny. No, it was funny too. No, it wasn't funny at all, but most of it is. But getting high was not funny for me. And if I could do it like a normal person, be a normie as they say, I would still be doing it today, but I can't. Actually, I wouldn't, because the smoke isn't good for all kinds of other things. But I could have a gummy. No. I would like a gummy. I walk into pot stores occasionally in Venice just to see what it's like in there. We didn't have stores. We had to go to the corner and go to some sleazy guy's house. We had to do crazy things to get the pot. Cops used to ride behind. Every time I see a cop in the rearview mirror, I swear to God, I break out in sweat. It's been 19 years, I'm still a nervous wreck. But anyway, it took me another 18 months to give up drinking because I really didn't have because I'm not an alcoholic like the rest of the losers. No, that's not my problem. I'm kidding. I love him. But anyway, I did it by myself, but I found my way into the rooms, as we say. And I cannot recommend highly enough, if you have an issue with any substance, there are places that are so magical. It is the best part. Other than you guys, it is the best part of my life, the best part of my day. phenomenal. Recovery is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and it is certainly the greatest thing that's ever happened to anybody who knows me. I'm ever grateful. And also the blessing of it is that my kids were very little. They have absolutely no memory of me being anything but stone cold sober. And my kids use responsibly, and no, they don't use. They drink. They don't use. But they partake responsibly. You do, Samantha. Don't you? I saw one of those Instagram stories of her partying. And I said, oh God. But anyway, we were doing a lot worse. Okay, so I was going to announce to you that on December 17th, I was moving up Women Who Write to December 17th, which I'm still going to do, except just literally 1 minute before we went live, Donnie Most let me know that he has a conflict. And can I move it? Lauren Gold from The Who is going to come back and play with him. And also Snuffy Walton and Sarah Nimitz are going to be here. And Adam Chester. And if you were not here for Adam Chester last time, oh my God, he is the stand-in Elton John. Insane. He's phenomenal. And he stands and he plays. He's fantastic. Anyway, so if I can find somebody to sit in for Donnie, and then we'll have Donnie come back later, or maybe I move the day. I don't know what I'm going to do, but just stay tuned. So, are we staying with these? Let's stay with these. Okay, so I thanked everybody, right? Okay, good. So, a founding member of the Groundlings, the improv troupe, which is the main farm company, like, you know, in baseball when they have the so the Groundlings is for Saturday Night Live. And in fact, Tracy Newman, our guest today, her sister Lorraine, was one of the first people farmed out to Saturday Night Live that very first season. And we have so many members of the Groundlings here. We have Lynne Stewart, we have Jay Kogen. Okay. Tracy was a staff writer on Cheers, won an Emmy and a Peabody Award for co-writing the groundbreaking coming out episode of Ellen. Co-created, according to Jim, and now add Bob Newhart, the Nancy Drew, what? The nanny, the Drew, hello. I had a little gummy. Maybe give it. No, I didn't. But I sound like I did. Add Bob Newhart, the nanny, Drew Carey, and a stellar appearance on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And if you have not seen it, you must go YouTube. Tracy on Johnny Carson showing him a card trick that is just insane. But Tracy's been playing guitar since she was 14, and she decided after all the success in television to spend full time being a singer-songwriter. And of course, she excels at that too. It's so obnoxious! It's fantastic. Tracy's CDs for Adults, A Place in the Sun, I Just See You, and What Love Can Do to Your Heart are one thing, and she's going to sing a very adult song for us, for me specifically today, I think. But Tracy also has started a children's faction of her songwriting. Her business is called Run Along Home, and her children's CDs are called I Can Swing Forever, Shoebox Town, and her latest, Sing With Me, Tracy Newman. And all of the CDs are available. Tracy was one of the very first musical guests at Women Who Write with Jackie Collins. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm so excited to have her back. She's become a treasured friend. I absolutely adore her. She's adorable. Everybody, Tracy Newman. I kiss you.
I know.
Oh, do that? Wow. Okay, now you can do it.
Okay. Oh God, to not be eroded for yourself. I quit television to hold on. I'll turn this on. It would help. I quit writing television when I was 62 to go back to being a singer-songwriter. So if you think you're too old to do anything, you're not. You know, it might also help writers out there to know that I was 46 when I started on my first television job on Cheers.
Really?
Which, you know, I kind of filled their quota for, like, being a woman. and being an old woman. Miss 46 on that show was, you know, to be a writer and your first job was very shocking. So yeah, what am I singing for Vicki?
Higher up.
Yes.
Oh, yes, she is.
I'm gonna honor the fact that she has an anniversary today. Is it today?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. And remind her about how much fun.
Gummy bears.
I'm embarrassed to say this relationship works because we never talk. Except for maybe some eggs, bacon and toast, and aren't you gonna wear socks? To be honest and true, what I like about you is that you're always high. You don't care if we never get out of the house, and neither do I. This must be the way we want it. This must be what we need. I'll make the martinis, and you fire up the weed. I have so much guilt attached to how we began, and that's what silences me. You were with someone else, I snatched you up for myself, like the last piece of meat. Not that you didn't jump at the chance, old dog that you are. But I opened the door, patted the seat, and said, get in the car. This must be the way we want it. This must be what we need. I'll make the martinis, and you fire up the weed. I think that talking things through is overrated. I'd rather be blue and medicated. It took a few years and buckets of tears for me to understand why your ex never once even complained. I took her. She was patiently waiting for a sucker like me to come onto the scene. I did her a favor, she'll be forever grateful to me. This must be the way we want it. This must be what we need. I'll make the martinis, and you fire up the weed. We'll keep each other out of circulation, doing mankind a very good deed. Same album. The album is called I Just See You. And my albums are for sale, by the way, including all of my children's CDs. And if you have a grandchild, a child, or a grandchild who's like between 0 and I'd say 7, those albums are really valuable. So I would like to do a song and dedicate that's on that CD and dedicated to all of the long-term relationships. I know it's mostly women here, but maybe some of you have husbands or partners.
Our special friend.
Or special friends. Lynne Stewart.
Roommates.
We wrote a song together, but I'm going to do this other one. But it's on one of those CDs.
Wait a minute, you wrote a song with Lynn?
Yeah, I wrote it. Mama, I Know You Ain't Santa is on my first
Oh no! Well, we're gonna have to add a song because you have to do it.
That's how I got another song on there. I knew I'm supposed to do two.
No.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so this is the song that's for a long-term relationship couples. If you know it, sing along. Bookcase in the hallway by the stairs. She always steals a look when she walks by. She stops to clean her glasses, shakes her head and heaves a sigh. She can't believe the lines around her eyes. Her husband's in the den, but he can hear her. He comes out and steps between her and the mirror, saying, "Let me be your looking glass, look at me. Walk past and see yourself the way I do. I don't see young, I don't see old, I just see you." He takes a walk out to the driveway with a bucket and a sponge. He's finally gonna wash her Cherokee. He takes his shirt off as he passes the window on the driver's side and sees a belly where a six-pack used to be. He laughs, but she knows how it upsets him. She comes out and steps between him and his reflection, saying, "Let me be your looking glass, look at me. When you walk past, see yourself the way I do. I don't see young, I don't see old, I just see you. On days when it feels like the mirror doesn't love you, remember I do. And let me be your looking glass, look at me. When you walk past, see yourself the way I do. I don't see young, I don't see old, I just see you. I don't see young, I don't see old, I just see you. Rock is here. Harriet's my songwriting teacher and has been for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that.
Yay, Harriet!
I remember she was teaching a class at my house that my husband was in and I wasn't in. I was watching my daughter. I mean, I can't believe that that was happening. And I wasn't in the class.
He was
But
writing
I don't
songs about
decide
you.
What? Oh, that's right. He wrote that song about me.
Yeah.
Where is my wife?
Who said that?
Lynne Stewart. So I'm going to sing the song that Lynn and I wrote together, and I've been saying that for years, but really, Lynn really wrote the song. I mean, yes, I put the melody to it because she can't carry a tune.
And Lynn's not going to sing it
and
with
maybe
you?
I added something here and there, but really, what she brought to the table was, in essence, this song. If you can even imagine that. Being a songwriter and having this brought to you. So, oh, by the way, let us be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas. I haven't done this in a long time, like, well, a year. Mama, I know you ain't Santa. Santa don't have a figure like you. And his eyes aren't red from crying.
You don't stand just under 5'2".
And he don't stand just under 5'2". Mama, that pillow is slipping, and your pretty blonde hair is showing through. And ain't that the necklace I made you? And I bet Santa don't have the flu. There's a clear Christmas sky in Atlanta, millions of lights, bright as can be. Mama, I know you ain't Santa. I've seen him up close, sat on his knee. But Kelly don't know you ain't Santa. How could she? She's only 2. Kelly don't remember Daddy, but Mama, you and I do. Well, thanks for the skirt you made over. Thanks for dyeing it red. And Kelly sure loves that puppy. We'll never get her to bed. There's a clear Christmas sky in Atlanta, millions of stars twinkling bright. Mama, I know you ain't Santa, but I promise I'll always remember this night. Now let me play Santa for Kelly. You go upstairs and take a rest, 'cause you make one lousy Santa. But as a mama for Kelly and me, you are the best. Merry Christmas, Mama.
A happy one. Leave us on a happy. I mean, that was really
I
sweet.
mean, I could do a sing-along.
Yes, a sing-along would be great.
Okay.
I'm too loud.
Well, let's do Goodbye Aloha.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't know, I always end up doing this, but it is a goodbye song. And this is about how you can't break up with someone you're still attracted to. This is your part. Goodbye, goodbye, Aloha. said and done. Yeah, it's easy to say, but watch him walk away. Try to get through one day. Goodbye, goodbye, aloha. Adios, adieu, mi amor. Goodbye, goodbye, aloha. Adios, adieu, mi amor. No matter what he has done to make you so mad, you're feeling so sad. You're missing the lad. Goodbye, goodbye, aloha. Adios, adieu, mi amor. Here's how it really goes. First you wallow, 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 wallow in pain. Then you swallow all your pride and take the bad boy back again. Goodbye, goodbye, aloha. I should have you dancing. Adios, adieu, mi amor. Adios, adieu, mi amor. Easy, I said, and
Tracy Newman. Gracefully resetting the.
No, I'm gonna leave that on though, unless,
Yeah, leave it on
I
because.
mean, I should leave the speaker on and everything, okay? I mean, all I have to do is bring the mic up.
Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna go here. Another hand for Tracy Newman. How many successful careers? What's next, Tracy?
President.
President,
President.
I'll be a book.
Okay, well then we can have you back for that too.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that were a book. She said maybe
A memoir?
A memoir. I love it. You know, today is a very TV kind of day because, you know, Tracy had all of those writing credits and our next guest also many writing credits, and Ilene was a star of a sitcom, and there's someone, okay, so Janice was the wife on the new Leave It to Beaver. She was talking about writing. So, Lynne Stewart, Miss Yvonne. They're very TV-centric today. I'm liking that. Okay, so speaking of TV, so Jay Kogen is a 4-time Emmy winner, nominated for 7 more Emmys on top of that. And he's not just funny when he's getting paid for it. If you're not friends with him on Facebook, go check him out because he's not only funny, but he's very thought-provoking as well. And he offers gigs. He put up a thing about a writing gig the other day, and I wrote about my husband, who already he has a meeting today. Anyway, and that's the thing about Jay. I didn't know Jay at all personally, and he did Game Changers recently. And what I came to know is he's got a beautiful sense of loyalty about him to people, and he mentors people, and he tries to give jobs to friends, and incredibly funny, incredibly smart, but just, and cute. He's cute. He's a man.
Don't oversell.
All right. He's really a horrible person, and I heard he smokes pot. No.
He eats gummies.
James' work highlights include The Tracey Ullman Show, The Simpsons, Frasier, Everybody Loves Raymond, Malcolm in the Middle, Wendell and Vinny, and he also created Henry Danger, and has also most recently was on the School of Rock. He was also a member of the Groundlings, and he does a great Pacino impersonation. So maybe we might be able to talk him into it. I'm honored that you are taking time from your busy day to be here. All of you are taking time from your busy day to be here. You know, a lot of people said they were too busy with Thanksgiving to be here today.
Oh,
What?
Yes. Or I love when people say to me they're too busy, they have to write. No. What breeds more creativity than being in a room of creative people?
Yep.
Creativity is so important. But instead of suffering the people that didn't come, I want to celebrate. And let's say thank you to Jay Kogen.
Lynn, I hope you dance behind me through the rest of the I don't have anything specifically to talk about because I was just told to show up, and she's a powerful woman. You just say yes when she says something. So I can talk about a lot of different things. I could talk about art. We could talk about letting go of your ego. We could talk about
all of those.
all of that was I don't have enough time. So, by the way, Tracy not only did all those things before, she was also my teacher and a director at the Groundlings. And I made over my career because I didn't go forward in the Groundlings. So I had to do something else. So that's good, right? Because we can say the Groundlings, maybe sometimes you're just only a Groundling. Something. Anyway, one of the things that this group of people, how many of you are writers? Raise okay. And how many of you are in the middle of trying to start something that you're writing? Couple. Okay. So let's talk about finding the thing that you want to write and how to do that. I've been struggling. I've had a lot of pilots lately, and trying to figure out how to frame my ideas and put them together. So sometimes there's a piece of me that I want to get out, and I want to find the truth of it, so that I have something to write about. So that's something interesting. Now, a lot of us, me included, start with like, well, is this commercial, and is there something else out there like it, and who am I going to sell it to, and all that stuff. And I think now's the time we can say none of that matters. There's nothing that you can write that won't find a home somewhere if it's good, right? I mean, no longer is it the day where you can just be in one slot or another slot. Now you just have to impress somebody with a fucking great script. Yeah. So figuring out what that story is the main thing. So a lot of people sort of say to you, I work at a dry cleaner, you got to do a sitcom about my life. And so, what is it about your life that's worthy of a show? Is, well, I got customers that come in and they're crazy, and sometimes the machine breaks down, and it's really, you can't believe it when people want their clothes and they're not ready. Oh, do they got anything? Well, that's not a show. That's a moment. I mean, that's a scene or something. It's not a show. The show is about a deeper truth. The show is about, why did you become a dry cleaner, and what were your choices to get you there, and what were your options, and are you a dry cleaner because you're in a dry cleaning family and you're trying to live up to your parents' expectations, or you're trying to you're an immigrant and you're trying to come to this country and you're trying to make a life for yourself, or are you hiding in the dry cleaning store because you really want to be a writer or really want to be an actor or something else? What is this story? What's the truth of the life? And then if you can get to the core of the character, then you can do a show. And then suddenly, if it's about somebody who is, let's take the first one, somebody who comes from a dynasty of something, and they have to be in that dynasty, or feel they have to be in that dynasty. Can't we find something more interesting than dry cleaner? Like, at that point, you say, okay, well, it's about a dynasty. It's about having to live up to your parents' expectations. Let's figure out a more interesting, unique, and unusual place for where they were, and then put that character and these characters in it. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is, what's your connection to this idea? Like, somebody says, you got to do a show about my dry. Well, I'm not a dry cleaner, and I don't have that connection. But I do have a connection to some other ideas. Like, I recently wrote a pilot about a father and a son. And my pilot is called... Lynn likes it already. One of the easiest things. And if you don't start crying after I say it. The father is in his 60s. He's like a very handsome, like Kevin Kline movie producer kind of guy. And the son is like in his about 30-ish, ne'er-do-well, hasn't ever done anything, kind of lived in the shadow of his famous father. And then, and he never really sort of broke out and did anything. The father and the son, the father's been many times divorced, estranged from the family. They grew up kind of separated. And the son only comes to the father basically to borrow money or to, or because there's a problem in his life. And the pilot starts out with the son having a problem in his life. He gets kicked out of his girlfriend's house because she's sick of his shit. And he comes home to find that his dad has a new girlfriend, and the girlfriend is the homecoming queen from his high school.
Oh, no! Maybe the father could be Al Pacino.
The father, Kevin Kline, Al Pacino's a little...
No, I just wanted to try to get you to do it.
Let me just start by saying, my Al Pacino impression, not that good.
No,
but I will do a version of Al Pacino. I will do my version of Hank Azaria's impression of Al Pacino. And Hank Azaria's impression of Al Pacino is in a movie where he worked with Al Pacino and the director, Michael Mann, is talking to Al Pacino, and Michael Mann is saying, okay, Al, so you're going to do the scene, you're going to get jackpotted. And that guy over there wants to jackpot you, and you're going to jackpot him. And Al Pacino is confused, like he doesn't know what the hell jackpot means. Nobody does. And Al Pacino, what is jackpot? And he's like, well, you know, the guy's going to jackpot you. And I don't know. That's it. That's my You got applause break. That's what you interrupted my story for. Okay. Your show.
You got an applause break. I'm sorry.
Anyway, back to my point. So this is the story of this father, this son, and they're estranged, and the son is jealous, and the father feels bad about not being a good father, and the father gets early onset Alzheimer's. He just starts to have the symptoms of early onset Alzheimer's. And the son, of course, is very worried that this new girlfriend's going to take his money, and he won't get it. So, as opposed to caring about the dad. So, in the course of the pilot, the son who's never done anything and never thought his father loved him, we prove that the father did love him and did remember things about him that the son never knew. And the son starts to feel guilty about it and starts to feel like realizing that he's about to lose his father, and he decides to commit to something, which his father said that's all he ever wanted was the son to commit something. And the son commits to taking care of the father. And not before he kicks the girl out of the house and ruins the guy's love life. After the pilot, you will see that he's going to try and bring her back into the fold and do right by his father. But what the connection is there is manyfold for me. It's very personal for me. I have a son who's just going to college. So my time of being a dad is like coming to an end. And I have a father who's wonderful, but he's 86 years old. So there's a clock on him too. So I'm feeling the feelings of the son, and I'm feeling the feelings of the father. So I'm really connected to this idea that you need to take the time, if the time exists, to sort of get in your last licks and get in those moments while you can. And so I wrote this thing from my heart, not because I thought, oh, Alzheimer's going to sell, because I thought, and also Alzheimer's has been an issue of people I love and care about. Thankfully, not my father, but other people I care about. And it's a weird, it's a weird, very, very slow death. It's a disappear. That person you love disappears, and bit by bit, piece by piece, and it's hard to watch. But if you see it coming, maybe you can get in. And the clock on the relationship is very important to the story. So that's why I thought Alzheimer's could be a good clock. And I don't do it in a cruel and ugly way. And I think over time, if it ever got to be a series, we'd see how it progresses, and not in such a horrible way, but in a way that we see him losing his dad slowly, but gaining his dad at the same time, because he's there, he's committing to his father, he's going to be there for his dad, and his dad, realizing he's got this thing, only has a limited time to be a father. That's the show. So I did it because I wanted to do it. I did it because I felt connected to it. And Carl Reiner once told me a very good piece of advice. He said, write something where only you have that vantage point, where you're in something that's touching you in that moment. The Dick Van Dyke Show was his life. Very specifically was his life, and he wrote it about his life. You can't write 40 shows about your exact life, because people would just say, we just saw that show, it's called The Dick Van Dyke Show. But you have other things in your life that you want to express, that's there. And the trick to it is, that I think, and the reason why I gave you that example is, if somebody read my pilot, they wouldn't say, oh, that's you, Jay, that's your life, but it is my life. But I was able to free myself, the details of my life, away from the life that I'm portraying, and still have something that I think is juicy, and interesting, and fun. And the fact that I freed it from me and my son and my father, 3 people into 2 people, means I have freedom to do a lot with those characters. I don't feel obligated that I'm embarrassing my son or hurting my father or revealing too much about myself. I'm revealing myself within the stories that I want to tell. And so you have freedom to say, I want to tell my story. Well, your story doesn't have to be about you and about your exact experience and where you're from and all that. That's fine if you want to do that. That make a really biographical story. But free your minds of that too. And just so, what's the essence of the thing I want to say? And then find a good home for that. Find a good situation for that. And then you sort of can, expound on that and figure out where that all goes. So that's my spiel, I guess.
Cry. My father did have Alzheimer's,
okay.
So Muffy might not be crying.
I win.
Well, are you kidding? No, she's crying. So, maybe you could give us a little, and I'll open it to questions from the room too, but maybe you could give us a little suggestion of people in the room who want to write for television. A segue to that. What is the best? What are ways?
People in the room who want to write for television?
No.
She should write for television.
No. What might be a best route? Some of what
the
steps
inside tips on how to get this show on the air?
No, or to get on a show.
To get on a show.
Okay, let's say to get on a show.
You're all fucked. Very little. Actually, that's not completely true, but
Lucky us.
Me included. We're all too old. We're all aged out of that staff writer thing. I mean, truth be told, they're not looking for us. So what you have to do is the same thing you need to do anyway, which is write your show.
Yeah.
Write a great script. And hopefully that great script will then become a show, and then they have to take you because you wrote it. You're the producer, you're the guy, you're the woman, you're the person. So that's your road to getting in. You with the beard, you might get into a show. Maybe you, I don't know. Nikki can get into a show. It's all good. So I don't know. I mean, it's like used to be that it was harder for women. I don't think it's that hard for women anymore. There's a lot of openings for women and people of color, more so than it's ever been before. And pardon me?
Fleabag. I was thinking,
Well,
a
beyond
one-woman
Fleabag,
show.
everything is out there and available but you have to have either a really loyal friend who's just going to hire you, or a really great script where you can prove that you're a great writer. And it's ironic that you have to write this really amazing script with your own voice that's so strong and powerful to get on a show to do somebody else's voice. But that is the job. Yes?
You mentioned at the beginning about losing your ego, and as a TV writer, I experienced that too. I was curious if you had a story related to that in your own experience of discovering that aspect of this.
Well, that I guess it goes to what I just said, which is when you are a TV writer, the pitch is your unique voice is what we need, and we want to hear from you, and it's your style and your jokes that's good. And that's never true. The person who's running the room wants jokes like exactly the way she wants her jokes, and she wants everybody in the room, however many that is, if it's 6 or 12 people, be pitching things that she likes and she thinks is funny, because then she can say yes, and we can move on to the next joke, and eventually go home. So, you really want to get everybody home. So it takes a while. I'm honest to God, they want to go home. Everybody wants to go home. So the way to go home, sometimes you get to go home at 6, sometimes you get to go home at 3 in the morning. I'd rather go home at 6. The way to go home is to finish, help the showrunner get the ideas, the jokes, the stories, the moments that they like. And they're going to be the ones to think about it and go like, yes, I like that, no, I don't like this. And we're all sitting waiting for like the judge to say, does it in? Does it work? And then we can move on. And we won't find out till the next day whether it does work or whether it's good. It's just a choice. But it has to be a choice that the showrunner really likes. And that's your job, unless you're the showrunner. And then it is your voice. And then everybody else has to do your thing. And that's the job. So you do get to lose your ego. Another way you get to lose your ego is if you write something that you think is so great, a draft of something is so great, and then you watch people rip it up and destroy it because they don't think it's so great. Or the showrunner doesn't think it's so great, and maybe 20% of your script gets in, and everybody says, oh, that's good, 20%, that's more than most. You're like, oh, wow, I just spent many weeks writing something I thought was impressive. So another way you lose your ego in show business is almost all the time, 99% of the time, everyone's telling you no. All the time, for everything. Can I do this? No. Do you want my show? No. Can I help with this? No. Is it, a million things. You're going to hear no all the time. And you have to be resilient and hope that you hit that 1% of the time that they say yes. The people who leave are the people who said, I've had enough no's. It's done. I'm done with no's. And I was an actor, and I got a lot of no's. And I felt that the no's were more personal as an actor than as a writer, because the no was to me rather than my script. So it was easy for me to say, okay, well, you don't like this, but you still like me. And now as a person who is got a kid who's now in college, I'm losing my ego that way, like who, in a deeper sense. Not as a writer, but just who am I? If I was a writer and a husband and a father, but really 80% of my time was all about being a dad, and now, or at least my attention. I worked and stuff, but what I cared most about was being a dad, raising a kid, then that kid goes, then with, whoa, what am I? Who am I? And then if I'm a writer, and every writer's career comes to an end, Tracy decided to end hers to become something else, but a lot of people don't make that choice. The choice is made for them. And so then what happens when you hit that wall, and you're no longer a writer? And then you say, well, who am I? Or if I'm I'm not getting parts as an actor, who am I then? I'm just a person who's, who used to be that. You have to decide, ultimately, no matter what you're doing, that who you are inside is enough. Whatever it is. If your wife leaves you, who you are inside is enough. Whatever happens to you, you don't have to be the thing you thought you were. You just have to be yourself. But that's a really hard thing to come to. It's a really hard thing to come to decide, I'm just me, and that's okay. Because you think everybody's looking at you, and everybody's judging you, and saying, well, we've seen you. You're not that great. It's like, well, no, I am. I'm fine. We're all just fine. We dress up in costumes as like kids, pretending to be this, an actor, or a director, or a writer, or a businessman, or whatever, you know. And really, we're just people. Mostly scared kids, but we're just people. And that's enough. That's who we all are. And we can recognize each other in brief little moments. And that's kind of cool. So if you're brave enough to just be yourself, I think that's also cool.
I'll write a show about that. I want to watch that show.
Well, I try. I'm saying that when I really reach down deep inside and write something that I want to about, I am stripping it off. I am saying this is who I really am. And that's also scary, because then I write it up and I hand it to people and they say 99% of the time no. So they're really rejecting something that's very deeply personal. And you can't take it that personally either. So you just, once again, have to be happy inside and be comfortable inside. Be proud of whatever you've done to get there. So proud of the script I wrote. Proud of the thing I made. Proud of coming here today. Proud of whatever it is that you think helps you and moves forward. That's enough. And so I leave that.
All right, wait, you have another question.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're not a writer-producer, because then it's going to be your vision on the screen, and I really think...
I am.
No, but see, my point is, when like you're talking about submitting your work to all these other people, I saw, Not That Jewish, Monica Piper, the show that she put up, because she was an Emmy Award-winning writer, brought down the house.
Right.
She filled up 14 months, I was there, 14 months, 4 times a week. $30 per sheet. And
Is this a business plan for me?
one of the things that I really find tragic is there's so many brilliant writers in Hollywood, and because they are pushed into that system, a lot of times I just feel like I want to see them go on and do stage plays, and I want to see them go on and do films. I want to see them go on, and I want to hear what they actually had to say, which didn't ever make it through that gateway. Yeah. Because it's a more unique voice that I don't get a chance to hear otherwise. I never would have known what Monica Piper, I would never have known if I had only known her through the Rugrats. And what she said about her son and about him not being quite that Jewish turned out to be, I mean, it changed a lot of people's lives. So, I mean, I know you are a writer-producer, but I'm saying, like, that show you're talking about, I hope it doesn't end up in the hands of somebody who does anything to it other than make it work.
Well, in the case of this, like when I say, if you write your own pilot, you get to control it. So it won't be taken away.
Okay.
You actually get to control it. You get to be the person to say, even if you've never written anything before, you're still on board. Sometimes they attach you to a showrunner, but you get to have a say on who that showrunner is, and if you're smart, you have a nice talk with them and say, listen, this is my life, this is important, and we have an understanding that you're not going to rip this away from me, and you're going to look in their soul and make sure that they're not like an egomaniacal jerk, because that can happen too. But it's your thing, and you have the power to say no, and you have the power to say, I don't want to do it with that person, and you will walk away. It's your thing. You wrote it, and whether it becomes nothing, whether it's just a script that's out there, or it becomes a show, or it becomes a pilot that no one ever sees, or 6 episodes, or a year, or 10 years, it doesn't matter. You're still doing the thing that you care about. You're still an artist, and you're still trying to, enlighten the world with whatever you've got to give.
Right. So by being the one who creates the pilot, you become a producer, and you get to make some of these.
That's how it works. Most of the time, they want somebody they want that voice. They like the script. They want the voice. They want them on board. Often they'll pair them with somebody who has a television experience, and sometimes it's a bad match.
Yes.
Sometimes, but you get to say before you sell it, I want the right to figure out who that partner will be, and I want to be in charge. That's your only moment before you sell it, when you have all this power. Then after that, you lose all this power. So make sure before you sell it, you're very clear about what you need and how to protect this thing and protect yourself.
Ray Romano with Phil Rosenthal is a perfect example of that, because it was Ray's story. They matched him with Phil, and that one worked.
Yeah, but I mean, that was even before the pilot was written. Ray and Phil got together, and they agreed together to make a show together. So they melded themselves even before the show was written. Right. I'm saying somebody has this piece of script, and you go to somebody, and then somebody...
So if that's the case, if you're a first-time writer and you have this is the script and they love it, can you maintain any of that integrity?
Yeah. What you have to do is you say, be aware. I know that you'll probably want to match me with some showrunner. I need to have a say in who that showrunner is, or I'm happy to walk away. We all agree? Like those are contract. Those are legal terms that people have to live by. And so you can't just get somebody who's going to swoop in and steal your idea and then change everything that you love about it. You have to, but also at the same time, you have to learn to compromise a little bit. So there's a balance, because even in my show, I'm going to have to learn to compromise, because maybe I do get Kevin Kline, but he says I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And so I have to compromise there. Or the network says we don't think the Alzheimer's thing's working. We have to find something. There are things that work and things that change, and you have to find it within yourself to decide, can I make that change, or should I just walk away? Like, is it a show ruiner, or is there something that we can find a good compromise? And most of the time I try to find a good compromise, but every now and then I've walked away. Yeah?
Could you talk about your editing and polishing process?
Ugh. My editing and polishing. Okay, so here's what I do. I know a lot of people who are great, who love writing. I think most of us find it very difficult and painful. So what happens is I write a draft of something, and I write, it's usually long and it's usually messy. And that's how I can get through that first draft while the voice in my head saying, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is horrible. And then when I read it again, that second time, I go, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And so there's still stuff that I don't like and stuff that's bad, and I edit it, and I'll cut out the bad stuff and try to bridge the gap between the stuff that's working and sort of shrink it back down from 70 pages to a reasonable 45 pages or something like that. Sitcom scripts are shorter, you know. And then I will often give it to a trusted colleague, someone I trust, to say, read this. What do you think? And often they'll give me notes about what they like and what they don't like, and I'll listen to them, and sometimes I'll absolutely disagree with their notes, but I'm glad they gave it. And then I'll certainly take the ones I agree with, and the ones I don't agree with, I'll hold in abeyance. And then I will finish that, and I'll show it to whoever my boss is at that time. Sometimes it's a showrunner, sometimes it's a studio, sometimes it's a network, sometimes it's a star, but I'll show it to that person, and there'll be more notes coming my way. So the polish, as you say, comes from just looking at the whole thing, shrinking it down, and making sure it's smooth, and making sure I've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's and all that stuff. And I'm dyslexic and horrible and all that stuff, so I see things in the script that I never put down. There are things, words that I thought I wrote. I didn't say explosion. I never said explosion. The note will be, why are they all walking around burned? It's, well, there was an explosion. We don't have it in the script. So I need people to tell me, oh, that's missing and all that kind of stuff.
Do you read it out loud? Do you hear the rhythms?
I do often when I'm writing it, say the lines out loud. But not everything, but sometimes. And I don't read the whole script out loud. But I read pieces of it and just make sure that the words flow and, act out the characters, because that's stupid, but I do it. Because so they make sure that they sound right. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, one more question. Susie?
Oh.
Lynn, no. Yes.
Did you want to ask a question?
No, go ahead.
Oh.
I wanted to rave about Jay.
You can rave before you
Lynn,
you can rave before he goes. Susie, what's the question?
Okay, Lynn loves and adores you. And my question is, when I heard Frasier, I went, because I've watched that show over and over, like I can't stop watching it. And is there anything you want to share about, I'm just curious, the collaboration, the writing to me, when the acting, the story, everything. Do you ever want to share anything about the juice of why it's so amazing?
Well, I will. I mean, I cannot take credit for the show Frasier. The show Frasier existed before I got there and existed after I got there. And the people who made it great are I would just they're along for the ride to help. So that's number one. It's not my show. It's something I worked on and I'm proud of. But the people that created it are great. Wrote one of the greatest pilots ever. Casey, Lee, and Angel are geniuses and wrote a fabulous pilot and cast it with brilliant actors. And something that trickled down, I think, from Cheers is the actors and the writers liked each other. The people actually liked each other. So when the actors would perform something, we would just go, oh my God, they're so good. And when the writers would write a script, they would thank us for the writing. And if something didn't work, we would all blame ourselves. The writers would say, "Oh my God, we're sorry we didn't gave something that didn't work." They, no, we can do it. It's the way we're doing it. And so it was this fight back and forth about who was responsible. So starting with that, it's an attitude. It's not even an artistic mindset. It's an attitude. We're here to work together, and we like each other, and we respect each other. That translates to the screen like I can't tell you. It's beautiful. And I saw the same thing at Cheers. I didn't work at Cheers, but it was like that at Cheers. And yes.
Tracy did.
I was just going to say, on a note, is Jeff Greenberg cast both shows. So the casting, too, when you're saying that.
Yeah, no, Jeff was great, too. But I mean, it's also like them, basically an angel saying, we like that person, we like that person. Jeff presents always great people, usually from Broadway. And so he's great. But so that's one thing. Kelsey, as a leader, by the time I got there, was great. He had some drinking issues and some other things the first couple of years, and it was a little chaotic, and then he cleaned himself up, and he was one of the greatest leaders. The star on the set leads that stage, and everything trickles down from them. If you've got an angry Roseanne bitching at everybody, firing everybody, that's the attitude you'll get back from the place. And if you have a guy who is giving decent notes and respecting writers' time and not ripping up scripts for no reason, that's another plus, that everybody's creative energies can go towards the show and not just appeasing an angry star and all that kind of stuff. And then the rest is just really well drawn out characters, really smart writers, brilliant actors. I can't tell you how brilliant David Hyde Pierce is. I cannot tell you how brilliant. And not only brilliant as an actor, he's just brilliant as a guy. He's also brilliant as a writer. And he would have fixes for scripts that we would have a scene we would have trouble with. He would have the fix. But he was so shy to say it, he would lean up against another writer like myself and say, you should have Daphne say such and such. And it would never be for his character. It would always be somebody else's because he's a giving person. So I love him, and I would do anything for him, and I would do anything for Kelsey. And these people were, they endeared themselves to me, and I respect their artistry, and I respect their humanity. So that helped a lot. I've worked on a lot of shows where I didn't feel that way about the cast or the showrunners. They were kind of, there was lots of jerks in show business.
Lynn, before he goes, praise him.
I'm going to grab the car like I just want to
Go in front of the camera.
Yeah, come here, Lynn.
I'm no surprise to anybody. Jay Kogen is a brilliant improviser. And lucky me, I got to work with him.
Tracy, all the I started growing up by going to see stand-up comedians and going to see Groundlings and going to see Funny You Should Ask, and so going to see all these things that all made me want to be in show business at all. And so, it's because of you that I'm here.
Musicals were my jam. That's what I dreamt. It's what I did. Nobody wants to hear that, but in those days they did. And my daughter went to NYU, and she's being an actress in New York, and musicals are her thing. And I actually got to see Ilene Graff, and I Love My Wife, in one of those times when I was coveting Broadway. Actor, singer, recording artist, author, Ilene's also a Grammy-nominated recording artist, best known as Marsha Owens, the mom on the long-running ABC comedy, Mr. Belvedere. She made her professional... Oh, and I have to add, Cindy Beagle wrote me from the airport just now. She's watching on her phone to tell me that she wrote a Mork and Mindy that you were in as well. She made her professional Broadway debut years earlier on the musical stage in Promises, Promises, the Neil Simon Bacharach David hit. Ilene went on to play Sandy for 2 years in the Broadway production of Grease. But her biggest Broadway triumph was creating the role of Cleo in the before-mentioned I Love My Wife, which was so fabulous. She was so amazing. In addition to playing Bob Uecker's wife on Mr. Belvedere, Ilene starred in 2 other series, several pilots, and guest starred on many TV episodes, Movies of the Week, miniseries. She shared the screen with Rodney Dangerfield in the feature Ladybugs, and co-starred in a Disney ABC film, the Disney ABC filmed version of South Pacific with Glenn Close and Harry Connick Jr. My son's name, I'm saying it wrong. Ilene is also the co-author of What the Other Mothers Know, and today Ilene will be performing with her partner in life and in art, ASCAP's Most Performed Composer Award winner, Ben Lanzarone, for Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, and The Love Boat.
I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this microphone thing, so bear with me.
Tracy, should we help?
I think if I just do this, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Yeah, Tracy Newman is going to help me with my mic. Like that.
I'm sorry, I relegated Tracy.
Once a roadie, always a roadie.
I just want to echo some of the stuff that you were talking about, Jay, in terms of television and the voice of the showrunner and the voice of the creator. Because when you are an actor on a show, especially a long-running show, and I'm sure you had this, freelancers would come in sometimes and write a script, and they didn't understand our show. The scripts were perfectly serviceable, but we would get them on table read day, which is your first day, and we would say, and you hate to be that person, you hate to be that actor who said, this isn't how I talk, or this isn't how we do things, or we would never go this way to do that, and that's one way that a freelancer's, especially script, would come to be, have 2% left of it, of what the original script was, because at a certain point, your characters all have a voice, and you have to be true to that voice because the audience smells phony like that. So we always felt very secure when it was our writer's room who was taking care of us, because we also, on Mr. Belvedere, I mean, it was no Frasier or Cheers or anything. We didn't have that kind of a run. But 5.5 years, I think, is pretty good. Especially considering all the pilots I made that never made it past or the 13-episode series. We don't have to talk about the 3-episode series I had. We don't have to go. We also had a tremendous affection and respect between the stage and the writer's room, where I never felt that I was going to be put down for making a suggestion, because they felt that I knew my character better than anybody. And as you know, the longer you're on a series, the more they write for you. So eventually, the line that blurs you and the character comes down to, well, my character was a lawyer, I'm the lawyer. It came down to things like that, but your essential personhood gets reflected more and more through the years as they get to know you. And I mean, my TV years were so very, very happy. So fulfilling, working with wonderful, talented, funny people. Our job was to go to work and laugh all day. That was the job. And if we weren't happy and having fun and making each other laugh, you knew that something was wrong. And it usually comes down to the script. It comes down to that written word. So writers have the most important job, and the one that we respect as actors, the one that we respect the most, because we can't stand in front of 4 cameras and do nothing. So without you, we're nothing. So thank you for all of your brilliant So today, we're going to do something that we usually don't do, but I felt that in this room it would be okay. My husband Ben is a composer, arranger, producer, but he also, at a couple of points in his life, was writing a lot of songs. And we don't generally have the opportunity to do original material because real audiences want to hear songs that they know. It makes them happy, it makes them feel loved, And my job as a performer is to make my audience happy. I have no other job. But I thought, since this is about writers, and I knew many of you would be writers, that it would probably be okay to do some original material. So back in the 1970s, Ben hooked up with a lyricist, a wonderful, wonderful lyricist named Bob Allen, who's no longer with us. And they respected each other, because Ben's music is not easy, and Bob's lyrics are deep in their own way, and they respected the fact that they weren't going to be Moon June, oh I love you so much songs, and that Ben's songs were not going to be you know, two-chord wonders. That's not who he is. So he and Bob wrote a whole bunch of songs together in the 70s that we recorded, and I'm sure that we all thought that we were going to get record deals, and I like the story that you tell about how you got a record deal. Yeah, we thought we were going to get record deals, and we didn't, but that's okay. We went into TV, and that was fine. But the songs I thought were extraordinary. We recorded all of them, and I want to do. I'm going to do a couple for you, and I'm doing something today that I generally don't like when people do. But since I haven't sung this song in maybe 40 years, and I just didn't have time to relearn the lyrics, so with your kind indulgence, I will be glancing down from time to time. So please. Have patience with this old woman whose memory is... but this song is called Together We Could Build a World. With you by my side, it wouldn't be hard for me to make this world a playground. With your hand in mine, I couldn't bear to touch those dreams that I have laid down. Together we could plant the seed that grows a family tree and blossoms out in fruit that would look and feel and love like you and me. Together we could build a world. Together we could build a world. Together. With your love to shine, I wouldn't need sun to turn the darkest day to golden. With you at my side, the greatest pains that I've endured would all seem old. And together we could plant the dream that starts a family tree that flowers into love that would look and touch and feel like you and me. Together we could build a world. Together we could build a world. Together. A quiet shelter far away from the skeptics of today who say that love has had its year and passed along its way. A world apart from any known. A world to call our own. With you by my side, it wouldn't be hard to find the happiness of laughter. With your hand in mine, I couldn't fail to touch those dreams that I am after. Together we could grow the dream that starts with just a seed and flowers into love. It would touch and hold the smile you gave to me. Together we could build a world. 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 Together we could build a world.
Okay, that totally gave me goosebumps, and that has to be in a show like immediately. By the way, the balance is a little off off. Either we need to turn up the PA or turn down the piano a little bit. It's a little hard to
Yeah, just turn down the piano a hair.
Oh,
hair.
sure.
Story of my life.
Yes.
What do you think? Is that better?
Yes, perfect. That song is fabulous.
Isn't it a nice
It
song?
gave me
You know, I think that was what, like 1974, 75, something like that?
I can so see that in a show.
It's so timely.
Yeah.
It's like when the world's being destroyed, so the new
There you go.
the new world.
Yeah.
The more things change, right?
Great.
So then maybe, this says copyright 1996, this next song. Ben wrote a couple of children's musicals with Lloyd Schwartz. Do you know Hope Huber? Anybody know Hope?
I do.
So Lloyd is Hope's brother, and he comes from the Brady Bunch, Gilligan's Island, Sherwood Schwartz dynasty, Lloyd. And they wrote a couple of children's shows together, which were wonderful and very successful. And then they decided they wanted to write a grown-up musical together. And the songs I thought were just wonderful. And this is one of my very favorite songs. And the show is called You and Me. 4 characters. I got to be in it. Yay. Yeah, I could just see him casting somebody else. Wouldn't have gone over well at all. So this is a very nice song. I know this one better because this was only 20 years ago instead of 40 years ago. I'm trying to figure out what page turns here. This is called I Am Music. From the earliest lullabies to taps at the end, we are music. We live our lives with music. The songs are in the air. From a love song to the wedding march, there's music everywhere. I am a Mozart symphony from the intro to the closing, with its inventive harmonies that we can try transposing. I am music, like songs to sing and orchestras to play. I am music today. I am music, I'm looking for one to accompany. I am music, won't you be harmony? For years I was a solo, call me Rachmaninoff, with my record going round and round. I can't wait to get off. I offer you a vibrant score. I won't pause to take a rest. Did I somehow fail to mention that I like to take requests? Oh, I am music, like songs to sing and orchestras to play. I am music today. I am music, come with me and you'll join my serenade. I am music, whoa, we are music, and waiting to be Very, very nice. Well, this last song was written 2 years ago. I might as well talk about it. 2 years ago, we did a holiday special, a holiday show at Vitello's, and it was so amazing, which was based on a show we did a few years earlier in New York at 54 Below with my whole family. I come from a wonderful talented, accomplished family. My cousin Randy Graff is a Tony Award winner. She was won a Tony for City of Angels. And my brother Todd Graff was a Tony nominee for his role in Baby on Broadway, and he went on to write and direct a bunch of movies. And our daughter Nika is also a musical theater girl. She's done a couple of Broadway shows and always busy. So we put together a family Christmas special for 54 Below. And then, of course, like lightning in a bottle, it never happened again. I could never get everybody all together to do it again. And I said to Ben, I still want to do it. I think I'm the pushiest performer out of the family. So we reworked the show and did it 2 years ago, and we're going to be doing it December 21st at what is now called Feinstein's at Vitello's. I hope you can all come and see it. And as we were working on the show, we needed a song. We needed a special song that really told the story of how we feel about the holidays. And everything was, I am sorry, everybody here, I'm not a spiritual person, I'm not a religious person, I don't have all of that stuff in me. I believe in being good. But that's you know, all right, so that's who I am. So I couldn't find anything that was already written with that point of view. So Ben said we should write a song together. And I went, oh my God, I have to write a song with you. But well, we did. We did. And I think it's very true to how we feel. And I think it's really pretty. And it's called Peace Upon the Land. Nice. I'm not a full-time optimist. My head's not in the sand. I question if things happen for the best. workshop on making the song your own. I have 3 students here today, and if you don't think that adds more pressure, am I doing all the things I tell them to do? I think we did okay.
We never get to hear you sing.
That's true. Because I don't sing in class.
Okay, Ilene, before you go, can you give a tip to everyone on how to make the song your own? Like, I know that's your whole class. Is there one thing, that one nugget that you can share with us?
Well, one of the exercises that we do in class at the very, very beginning when we're first starting out is everybody has to come in with a story from their personal life that connects somehow with the lyrics in the song. It doesn't have to be the story of the song, but it has to be something that you can really viscerally relate to. I'm trying to think of anybody's song. So there, the example I use all the time in class is Happy Birthday to You. So what's the big deal about Happy Birthday to You? But I have a story. I remember when my daughter was 7 years old and we were at the birthday party at Fun and Fit Gymnastics, and there were all of these wonderful little kids sitting on the mats, and they came out with the cake, and all the little kids sang Happy Birthday to You, and it was staggeringly beautiful. It just killed me. It was so lovely. And so whenever I sing Happy Birthday to You, I have a story. I have something that happened to me. And if you want to personalize your song, take the time to look at the song, think of your life, find a well of reality, of authenticity in you that you can draw on to make it feel like you are telling a unique story through somebody else's words. That's the tip.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for giving. Thank you all for giving.